Across the Commonwealth, revenue enforcement agents come in contact with fuels, liquid fuels, or dyed diesel approximately 5,000 times annually. The Bureau of Motor Fuels wants to ensure that safety and procedure requirements are frequently reviewed in order to safeguard against personal injury while on the job. This training video will be used to help educate you, whether you're new to the job or a seasoned pro, and will help you with safety guidelines, requirements, and procedures for fuel composition testing and dyed fuel testing, both on the road and off. Today we'll be talking about 3 different kinds of testing, but before we get started with the how-to, let's talk about the why. The first kind of test is fuel composition, which is part of Fuel Cap, or the Fuel Composition and Accountability Program. Fuel composition tests the makeup of fuels at the pump to ensure the consumer is getting what they pay for. The second and third tests are part of the Dyed Fuel Program, which was established to ensure tax-free fuel is not used on Pennsylvania roads. Dyed fuel is diesel fuel with a red dye similar to home heating oil. Red dye means it's a non-tax product and it is not allowed in a licensed vehicle on Pennsylvania roadways. These programs help track fuel and keep distributors, retailers, and consumers accountable, ensuring that Pennsylvania fuel taxes have been paid and quality standards are met. Today, we are going to learn how to test for fuel composition and dyed fuel. So let's get started. Safety measures are crucial to ensuring you stay safe on the job, so let's take some time to look at the proper procedures. Before any testing can take place, a revenue enforcement agent must be certified. Agents require recertification every 2 years in fuel composition testing procedures, dyed fuel procedures, and safety requirements. Make sure that the appropriate safety equipment is on site during any fuels testing. First aid kits, which include eye wash and an industrial emergency burn kit. 2 portable fire extinguishers. These are located in the truck cab and truck bed. Wide mouth funnel and fuel overspill pan. Fuel analysis transport bottles. Rat pack drawer system. Please note, no fuels are to be transported within the system. Airtight pelican cases. 10 pounds of cat litter, broom, and dustpan in the event of overspill cleanups at retail locations. 400 milliliter glass measuring beakers and baby wipes. Fuel sampling pipettes. White Ball X80 paper towels, red number 05930. 4 safety cones and 1 fuel testing sign. And each vehicle must carry a current copy of the material safety data sheet for each type of fuel common to their day-to-day operations. Make sure you always wear appropriately issued REA personal protective equipment, which includes yellow safety vests and steel safety shoes that are non-skid and slip-resistant. Nitrile gloves. These must always be worn when testing fuels. Eye protection. This must always be worn when sampling fuels. Contact lenses are not a substitute for eye protection. With all of these testing procedures, it is important to note some do's and don'ts in order to ensure your safety while on the job. Do not ignite a flame while at a test site. Smoking tobacco products during testing is not a wise idea. Do not test fuels when the threat of lightning exists. Do not use cell phones or other electronic equipment while testing, as the possibility of static electricity always exists. Always make sure you touch your hand to your vehicle to avoid this possibility. Do not let fuel come in contact with unprotected areas of skin. Always wear protective equipment. Avoid prolonged inhalation of fuel vapors and any possibility of ingesting fuels. Wash hands thoroughly after testing. Stay safe and watch for vehicles moving in and out of fueling locations. Make sure you report any and all job-related injuries and/or fuel testing-related incidents to your district enforcement manager. Now that we've got all of the safety requirements out of the way, let's take a look at how you actually test fuel composition at the pump. All sampling must always be performed on-site by 2 Bureau of Motor Fuel Taxes Enforcement personnel representatives. At completion of gathering information for the fuel reconciliation, the agents will notify the gas station representative by providing them with the Department of Revenue Form 551A to notify them that they will be testing their fuel.
Thanks a lot for your cooperation. You have a good day.
Park your test vehicle at the fuel pump. Before exiting the vehicle, note the odometer reading for the Voyager credit card purchase. All fuel sampling purchases are to be made using this card. Then, turn off the vehicle. Place 2 safety cones to the front and 2 to the rear of the test vehicle, and then place the PA Revenue Fuel Testing sign 5 feet to the rear of the test vehicle. Run your Voyager credit card to authorize a fuel purchase. Make sure you save your receipts for all purchases. Remove the gas cap from the REA truck, select the fuel grade you plan to test, and flush 2 gallons from the pump hose into the truck's fuel tank. Once complete, remove the pump nozzle from the REA truck. Before you take a sample, you'll need to calibrate the Zeltex fuel analyzer. Make sure you do this before every use to ensure accuracy in testing. Follow these steps for calibration. Hit the menu button. Use the arrows on the top left to toggle to auto bias. Hit select. It will then print and tell you what product is active. The default is set to measure at E-gas, which is what is tested 95% of the time. You will then perform a regular sample test using the provided control fuel sample. Make sure your glass measuring beaker is sitting in the overspill pan and on the ground. Dispense pump fuel to the designated fill line on the measuring beaker. Then, pour the contents to the fill line on the Zeltex sample holder. Now you'll need to use the Zeltex analyzer to measure the fuel. The display will read "Clear chamber" and press Measure. Make sure there is no jar in the sample chamber. Cover the chamber with the light shield, which looks like a black metal can. Press the Measure key to standardize the instrument. Then, remove the can from the sample chamber. Place your fuel sample into the sample chamber, being careful to align the alignment stripe on the jar with the left alignment stripe on the instrument. Place the light shield over the jar. Press Measure. Remove and replace will then be displayed in the LCD window. Remove the jar and rotate it to align the stripe with the right alignment stripe on the instrument. Replace the light shield over the jar and press Measure. Remove and press M will be displayed. Remove the jar and cover the empty chamber with the light shield. Press Measure one more time. The results will appear in the display while being printed. If the fuel does not fall within revenue guidelines, agents will take a sample of the fuel. Upon completion of the test for each sample, you must fill 4 2-ounce sample bottles to the 1-ounce line. Label these samples with the date, type of test, and declared product. Then, place labels on the sample bottles. To ensure the chain of custody, make sure you fill out a sticker, sealing the bottle, and another at the top of the sheet before giving it to your supervisor. Fill out the IRS sample information sheet. Always place fuel sample bottles for the IRS in Pelican cases. Store the case securely in the bed of the truck, and upon return to the District Enforcement Office, place fuel samples in the Eagle Safety Cabinet. If the fuel you have tested does not require lab testing, place the wide-mouth funnel into the sleeve of the truck fuel tank. Pour the fuel contents of the Zeltex jar through the funnel and back into the tank. Next, clean and wipe the sampling jar, measuring beaker, and any residuals on the funnel, fuel overspill pan, and any other affected area with wipes. Place used wipes, nitrile gloves, and paper towels in Ziploc plastic bags and discard in a dumpster. In the event of an overspill, spread cat litter on the affected area. Wait 5 minutes and then sweep up the cat litter and place it in a Ziploc bag. There are two parts under this next category, on-road and off-road dyed fuel testing. According to the Liquid Fuel and Fuels Tax Act of 1997, a person may not operate a vehicle on Pennsylvania public highways if the fuel supply tanks they use contain dyed diesel fuel. Sell or deliver dyed diesel fuel if they know or presume to know it will be used in highway use. This law also gives you, the revenue enforcement agent, the right to enter any location that stores or produces fuels and inspect any tank, reservoir, or other container that can be used to make, store, or transport dyed fuel. Records and documents may also be inspected, and you are allowed to inspect any vehicles suspected of carrying dyed fuel. For both of these tests, certification is required by the IRS, as well as the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Agents must be wearing a uniform and display ID issued to him or her by the Department of Revenue. This certification allows for agents to conduct fuel inspections of motor vehicles on the road or inspect vehicles or places where fuels are produced or stored off the road. And, just as with fuel composition testing, revenue enforcement agents require retesting every 2 years. Of course, prior to any testing taking place, make sure you follow all of the appropriate safety guidelines as previously discussed in this video. Now, let's take a look at on-road testing. On-road tests are typically conducted at weigh stations throughout the Commonwealth. There are numerous agents involved in this test: someone to select vehicles to pull in, someone who operates traffic lights, and someone to conduct the actual test with the vehicle operator. Once a vehicle has been selected, the REA must identify themselves to the driver and give them a Notice 1 dyed diesel fuel inspection notice. To conduct the test, you will need a 30-inch plastic pipette. Insert the tube into the diesel saddle tank as far as it will reach, then raise it about 1 inch if the fuel level will permit. Place your thumb firmly over the upper end of the pipette. This will create a vacuum to hold the fuel in place. Make a visual inspection of the fuel in the pipette. If no visible evidence of dye in the fuel is found, release the fuel back into the tank and close the fuel cap. You may then release the driver.
All right, you're good to go. Okay.
If dyed fuel is found, the agent will collect samples for lab analysis. The agent will also collect all necessary information from the taxpayer to fill out the dyed fuel violation form. This includes things such as pictures of the truck, driver's license information of the driver, registration information for the truck, odometer reading, truck inspection reading, and where the fuel was obtained. The REA will then fill out the sample bottle sealing and identification label IRS Form 9667. Each sample taken should be sealed and labeled. If dyed fuel is found via an on-road inspection and the fueling location can be determined, a follow-up off-road inspection of the bulk storage is recommended. Next, we'll look at dyed fuel off-road testing for trucks and bulk storage tanks.
Agent McFadden, Agent Dillard, we're here to do a diesel fuel.
The REA must identify themselves to the owner and give them a Notice 1 dyed diesel fuel inspection notice.
This is a PA1 notice?
Once a fuel storage tank has been selected, seek permission to inspect the diesel fuel in any trucks or bulk storage.
Sure, you can test them. I have 2 in the back.
To conduct the test, you will need a 30-inch plastic pipette. Insert the tube into the diesel saddle tank as far as it will reach, then raise it about 1 inch if the fuel level will permit. Place your thumb firmly over the upper end of the pipette. This will create a vacuum to hold the fuel in place. Make a visual inspection of the fuel in the pipette. If no visible evidence of dye in the fuel is found, release the fuel back into the tank and close the fuel cap. What if dye is found? Follow these steps.
It looks like we found some dyed fuel here in your vehicle.
Call the owner's attention to the dyed fuel. Using caution, take the pipette out of the tank, keeping thumb over upper end of the pipette, and show the owner of the vehicle the contents of the pipette. Then, place the fuel back into the vehicle's tank.
Under the Dyed Fuel Act.
Ask the owner if you may take a sample. If they refuse, the REA must inform him or her of a refusal penalty fee of $1,000 per truck. A citation will be issued when sampling is refused. Using the fuel abstractor, attach a new 2-ounce bottle onto the fuel abstractor. Also, take a new piece of plastic tubing, long enough to get to the fuel needed to be sampled, and attach it to the fuel abstractor. Proceed to pump the fuel out of the tank of the truck and into the 2-ounce glass bottle. Fill the bottle to the 1-ounce line on the glass bottle. Do not go over the line, always stay below the 1-ounce line. Then, remove the glass bottle from the fuel abstractor and securely place a top on the glass bottle sample. The samples are now ready to be labeled for testing. Take 2 samples of the fuel. These samples, along with the IRS chain of custody document, must be given to the manager or supervisor of your district office. The manager or supervisor will then contact the assigned federal fuel compliance officer to their area, who will pick up the samples and documentation and forward them to an IRS lab. Also, the REA will photograph any vehicle in violation and gather the following information: name, address, and telephone number of the driver, Social Security number of the driver, truck license number, name, address, and telephone number of the owner of the vehicle if different from the driver, location where the truck was fueled, location of the violation, employer ID number of the owner of the vehicle if known. If the truck in question was fueled from an on-site bulk tank, the agent is then responsible to pull a sample from that bulk tank. First, go to the bulk tank and take a sample using the nozzle and put it into a glass beaker, filling it about halfway. Next, transfer the fuel from the beaker into 2 2-ounce bottles, filling them each with 1 ounce of fuel. The bottles will then be labeled and sealed as previously shown. Next, ask the owner where they get their bulk tank deliveries. You will then proceed to contact that distributor and get a history of the deliveries made to the owner. After all necessary information is collected, the REA will then leave the premise. We hope this training video has been both informative and interesting for you, and that you'll be confident and competent in your dyed fuel and fuel composition testing techniques. Safety is paramount, and following these protocols will ensure accurate results and avoid injury. If you have any questions, make sure you ask your district manager or supervisor, or hop online to view the training material, and always remember to stay safe out there on the job.